The upside of failure this Friday, and we are joined by international award-winning fashion designer and businessman, Mr. David Tlale, or as I call him, Tlale. How are you?
How are you? I haven't seen you forever.
How wild is it?
The last time I spoke to you, it was on the phone. It was a morning show or something else.
Yes.
It's like it was last year, some time ago.
No, wouldn't have been. If it was a morning show, it was
When was
years and years ago.
I think it was a morning show. Yeah, it was
It
early
would-
in the morning. It was like, yeah. But anyway, we're here now.
Can I tell you a secret? I've
Tell me.
spoken about you maybe 3 times on this show,
Really?
3 or 2 times on air, to tell a very specific story that a moment that happened between us.
Yes.
Because I think about it often.
All the time. Mhm.
I'm going to be turning 40 soon, but in essence, what happened was.
Only.
What do you
Wow. Only.
mean? What do you mean?
I mean, I feel like we've lived for 500 years. Only now you're turning 40.
It's because I started young, and we'll get to how the first job we did together, which I know you don't remember. I know you don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay, but let
Yes.
me tell you the specific story, and the reason it is so important is just the big lesson I got out of it. So one morning, I get a phone call from Tlale, and it's like after 6 a.m., and it's that's quite an early time. And you were like, "Oh, sorry, darling, I wasn't trying to call you," but we ended up speaking for like 30 minutes.
Exactly.
And then, so now I'm like, I'm busy saying to you, I'm thinking of getting my MBA.
Yes.
And you said, why? So I'm like, well, I'm going to be sitting on a board now, and this and this. And you said, oh, darling, please.
I
And you
remember
said,
that conversation.
you already have a business. You already are doing it. So, do you know how much work an MBA is? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite busy. But he says, yeah, but you're going to be an overqualified, underpaid person instead of building your business in that time. And my mind changed that day. And
Really?
you said to me, your question was, why do you want to get the MBA? And I didn't have, when I say a proper answer, I mean an answer that wasn't solely around my insecurities and fears. And you said, you don't need that thing. You're going to be fine. You keep doing what you're doing, keep building, leave that MBA. That's what you said to me. And I'll never forget.
And what did you do?
I left that MBA. I went and made a baby.
Exactly.
I got a different kind of MBA.
You
I got a mba.
But you're happier now, isn't it?
You know why it's still such an important conversation that I go back to is because it forced me to think about things that I wasn't thinking about at the time.
Yeah.
Because I'm the kid that left high school and then wrote matric outside of my friends.
Yeah.
I'm the kid who didn't go get that degree. And
Yeah.
we even spoke about how my dad still has space on the wall. And you were just like, but all I'm hearing is you're trying to do this for other people. And I had to keep coming back to, you know, that thing of feeling insecure. Even when I started in radio,
Yeah.
all the hosts were degreed journalists.
Exactly.
I was just motofela. What's that in English?
But, ke motho fela a re na ena ka sekgowa. It
Just
won't make
a
sense.
person. Just a person.
No, o motho
You know,
fela.
motofela.
Yeah.
And do you remember the conversation?
I remember the conversation, but I think this is the same question I ask people who wants to be fashion designers or come into the industry or creative sector to be like, why? Why are you coming in here? What impact are you going to have in your journey? And also, like, I think it resonates with me most of the times to say, you know, when I went to study auditing, I found myself doing this, and then I was sitting in this class, I was like, why am I here actually? What am I doing? And am I doing this for me, or am I doing it for my parents, or am I doing it for my community? And it was just like a penny drop one day. I was like, I'm done, I'm out, and I'm going to do me. And I did. And look at me, how many years? 27 years later.
And I have to say,
Yes.
what I loved about the conversation was that you were not bashing education, because I want to make that clear.
No,
There's
education
part
is
of it
very
is
important.
But
Yes.
you were saying specifically for me,
Yeah.
and the fact that I was already in the midst of building.
Yeah, but question is, how was it going to elevate where you are at that particular moment.
I was going to be able to lift my nose up at people.
And then say
That's-
what?
No, but that's what it was, is that
Yeah.
it was my own fears and insecurities.
Yeah.
And I realized that my younger brother can make my parents proud. It's okay.
Yeah.
Sharp.
It was sharp, yeah, one. And look at you today, 702 Talk Radio. Hello.
Oh my gosh. So let me remind you, our first job together, circa 2006.
Oh my God.
There I was. I had just finished on Rhythm City, and I remember going to an audition for a show. At the time, I was trying to convince
my God,
SABC to give me a show,
2006.
and then they're like, no, there's another show coming called Dance Your Butt Off. Anyways, we do the show, and then now it's time for PR and the marketing. And did David Tlale not send me the dress of dresses for that photo shoot? And then they said, Nick Bolton, photographer.
Photographer.
Oh,
I know Nick is amazing, isn't it?
it is just like, for me, it was such an honor. But then what became an even bigger honor was getting to meet your mom.
Oh,
When we were at the fashion show on Nelson Mandela
Nelson
Bridge.
Mandela Bridge. That is like 2011.
So
We can write an entire coffee table book.
Ne?
Yeah.
So
But
many
beautiful
stories in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we even jump into all of it, I am still a fan of your work.
Thank you.
I
you.
continue to follow it, and
Thank you so
I will never take for granted the words you shared with me.
Thank you.
And I keep reminding myself whenever I feel scared and lost, particularly in this business, because as much as you say, and I'm sure you can resonate with this, as much as you say, look at you now, you're at 702, or look at you now, you've got your own things.
Yes, your own podcast. You've got so much happening. I
It's
mean,
seasonal.
is this the part when we go like...
No. This is the part
No,
where
this is the part when I do this myself before anybody does,
Thank you.
okay? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But even with all of that, and I'm sure you can attest to this,
Mm-hmm.
you've done the New York, you've done Paris, you just had your garment at the Met Gala. It's almost like that list.
I think this conversation is
ticked.
done. Can I go home? Finish. Who needs to
But-
sit here for an hour?
No, but you still have the challenges that the people don't see.
Absolutely.
That you're not going to post.
Yes.
And I want you to share with us, maybe just off the top of your head, what would you say is one of the most recurring challenges? Like, my recurring challenge is that I regularly have to go back to, Kana, what did David say? When I'm like, should I be? Because the insecurities come up, it doesn't like just go away in
Absolutely, yeah.
What is your recurring challenge or issue that you constantly have to keep at bay and deal with?
I think the first thing that always happens, because you're creative, and then you have to become the businessman. Now here I am in my office wanting to create this dress that takes 48 meters of fabric, and then the price point is about 400 rands a meter. It's like, now you have to choose. Are you going to spend 48 times 400 instead of being able to pay your team, all your overheads, rent, office, shop, the staff, and everything else? So the reoccurring challenges for any entrepreneur, including myself, even if 22 years into the business, is cash flow. And making sure that you're able to pay your people on time, pay your rental on time. Those issues you can never get away from.
No,
it.
but
And-
at the same time, though, from an outsider's perspective,
yeah,
even though, yes, being in a business, you should know better. But we can look at a David and be like, you're always busy with something.
of course.
You are always within. You are always, whenever there's this massive fashion opportunity, the likelihood is the first name that will come up is yours. So why the cash flow? Why in our minds, like, you are bowling and fabric people are throwing fabric at you?
I wish it was that easy. We as a nation, and especially as people of color, we come from a very different background, and people are saying, but look at your younger designers are flourishing more than you do. I'm like, our times of when we were born are very different.
What do they mean by flourishing? Just so I understand.
I think
the
they
context.
look at the Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
the social media to say, like, look at the people that you've trained. You know, they are
Yes.
doing this, they're doing that. I'm like, our journeys are very different. My journey as David Tlale is very different from Sipho Sihle Masango, who I trained, Muso Maxwell, that came from our internship program. You name them. There's quite a few. And our generation, and I'm proudly say so, that you're still coming to our fifth floor. I was born in the 70s.
Yes.
And I'm 50, and I'm proud to say so. Our generation is very different from the current generation, the Gen Zs, and it's very different how they do business and how they understand business. And their opportunities are much, much fast forward than ours from people who understand what apartheid is. And also, there's a lot of mind shift that we need to get, or paradigm shift that needs to happen in our lives. Understanding technology. Now we are competing with AI. We are competing with so many things. And also, you know, like when you grew up in a township, we were raised with the Bantu education.
Yep.
And now we were part of those people that, like, okay, by the time there was modern Model C schools, now you must go to university and go figure out what does it mean to sit with a white person in the same class and speak the same language and understand on the same level. This is like 1994. And then like, okay, fine. Okay. Because in the past, like the Caucasian people was like superior. But now we are all sitting in the same class. Now we are like, have to learn the same thing. So there was a lot of adjustment that has to happen. And I'm not making excuses. And I make these conversations because it's what some of us were, how we were brought up and how we raised and how we had to adjust on our own. And fast forward, the Gen Zs and the younger other generations that went to Model C schools, those adjustments were much easier from an early age. And their advantages are greater, and I'm so happy for them, and I celebrate them on a daily basis. So going back to my answer to you is that, you know, our struggles, they vary on a daily basis. And my journey and my vision as David Tlale has become so big that I need to catch up quite a lot with it on a daily basis, in terms of technology, in terms of finances, in terms of growth as well, and also in terms of you know, as a brand, we pride ourselves with craftsmanship. And we always say, if you see a David Tlale and you see a Tom Ford or you see a Chanel and everything else, we want to be in the same price bracket, construction, in terms of garments and everything else. That's where we see ourselves. So you can understand my struggle. Hore, is my hemline going to be okay tomorrow, just like Dior or whoever it is? So all these things, they come into play. And it's not just meeting or even just like making the month end meet. No, there's all these other things: quality control, fabric importing or exporting, or even developing in South Africa. How do we become different from everyone else? And then leading a team of people, you know, because as much as we think, okay, you've been in business for 22 years, guess what? The same struggles that even the generations before me were dealing with, which is human beings, we're still dealing with on a daily basis. Whether people are going to come to work on time, are they going to actually pitch up for work today? And then there is all these things that we deal with, like, oh, okay, we are clinic today, we are checkup on, BP and whatever. Then you have to adjust yourself. And these things, they come on you as an entrepreneur. And whether you want to or not, you have to deal with it. And now, in the DNA, like, why don't you eat clinic every month? Why don't you eat healthy? Why don't you go to gym? You know, all those things, like...
No, because from the business perspective, and I get it. I regularly speak to our peers who, they're public figures, but they also are running businesses.
Of course.
From your Zinke to yourself, where we're all dealing with the same challenges, right? And now we're adjusting as us being millennials to what working with and hiring Gen Zs is like.
It is,
and
absolutely.
It is a challenge because also the part of me that connects so much to you is we are very much perfectionists.
Absolutely.
We will throw the whole thing out before we put it out half-heartedly.
Let's talk about a simple thing.
Yes.
We live in South Africa right now. Our biggest issue, another pandemic that we have, is water and electricity.
Ish.
And then you are an entrepreneur, okay? The first text you get, King, I don't have water or electricity, so I'm going to be late or even not even come to work.
And those things were not options for us.
No.
Yeah.
No. So right now, it's like there's a lot that you deal with. And then there's a taxi strike. Oh, no, there's no buses coming to town today. So how do you adjust and make sure that your business still thrives in the midst of all these pandemics that you're dealing with, let alone the real pandemic, which was the coronavirus issues. These things that are happening on a daily basis, they have a direct impact on us as young entrepreneurs, even established entrepreneurs. We all suffer the same thing. When someone says, "Kitsuhile ke sena metsi," what do you do? When someone says, "I woke up with no electricity in my house. I haven't had electricity since yesterday. When I got home, I went to bed without electricity. I woke up this morning without electricity." Some of them is like both of them, electricity and water. And you expect these people to come to work and be in a positive mindset to say, "I'm going to work for the house of David Tlale," and be productive. So there's a lot of issues that we have to deal with as entrepreneurs.
Do you think that for the many years that you've been doing what you're doing and flying our country's flag high, that the government has done enough to support the industry? Because I don't want to make it just about David Tlale.
Yeah.
The industry as a whole. And I'll tell you why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Our ministry is huge, like specifically
absolutely.
where we fall
They're
within.
creative. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And then I sometimes find that because that is the case, fashion gets lost in the mix of other creative spaces which aren't necessarily more important or bigger, because you cannot measure how important a creative profession is by the amount it's adding to the GDP.
Absolutely.
But I sometimes feel like, hey, fashion probably gets lost because it's in the same ministry as rugby. It's in the same,
Absolutely.
So I want to know your thoughts on that, because you have, been operating under various presidents, different regimes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
My challenge is, and this is a conversation I always say to people, because we come from this era of apartheid into democracy, and I believe if our government was structured differently, each and every ministry or industry would flourish. And I'm going to speak for our industry, which is the clothing and textile, or even the fashion industry. We are blanket under one massive blanket with sports, arts, and then fashion, and then we belong there. And then in the DTIC, we are still under clothing and manufacturing and everything else. But not understanding that to be a fashion designer, you belong under the clothing and textile and footwear, leather and footwear. Great. Question is, I have no issues with people's capabilities, okay, and people that are put into office as ministers. Question is, do you understand the industry? Do you have industry background? Did you work in the clothing sector? Do you understand what the challenges are on a daily basis of a factory based in Johannesburg or Durban or anything else? Now, when policies and everything are made, they are made under just like, okay, the rule is going to be like this for everybody. The clothing and textile has got their own issues and challenges on a daily basis. Some, like I always say to people, if you are going to say, I'm heading the clothing and textile industry in South Africa, how many of the clothing and textile factories, as a minister or a DDG or whoever, have you visited these factories to see what actually happens? Or are you running this ministry based on paper or even research that you get or you are given? And please, I always say to people, hear me out. Because for you to understand my story, you got to come and sit with me. And also the way we do things right now as a 21st century generation, things are very, very different. Technology is upon us. When we look at how other countries like China is thriving in terms of manufacturing because people who run the clothing and textile industry in China, they understand it, they lived it, and they implement it on a daily basis.
It's funny because what I was going to say when you were saying that, when people sit in offices and they're just provided with data, for example, the conversations, or let me say the talking points of the industry will be, well, we're trying to increase tariffs or taxes because we're concerned about Shein and Temu and David and. Now, in my view, I think that the conversation is a lot more nuanced than just, well, let's protect local designers.
Absolutely.
That's only one part of the conversation. And even then, I also get concerned sometimes because I do think there's a market for everything.
Absolutely.
Even if it were not a Shein or a Temu, that there must be a space where we can be manufacturing at that level for goods that are, what is the term in fashion when it's quick turnaround, trendy?
Fast fashion.
Fast fashion, yes.
Yeah.
So at some point, do we not want to be a part of having that? Because there still is a room for a David Tlale. I feel like sometimes the conversation is not nuanced enough.
Yeah. I mean, the other day I was listening to a conversation with Vusi Tembegwayo, who was talking to this government with this trend person. And it says, this lady says, in Africa, as a continent, only about 6% of our clothing is made in Africa. The rest is imported from raw materials to everything else. So my take is the ministry or even our structures in
Somebody's calling you to tell you you're
like,
on radio.
I'm like, literally, I'm on radio. Dude, can you realize
They're
this?
calling
Can
saying,
you respect this office?
live,
live. So all I'm saying is, if we as a country and understood the power of the clothing and textile industry, how it can change unemployment, how it can solve poverty, because if we manufacture our own raw materials in the country, like I speak to this about this every time. If we have to grow or farm our own cotton in this country, do you know how many problems we would have solved? School uniforms, bed sheets for home hospitals and everything else, and work uniforms for so many people. Number one, that we don't understand. Every human being under the sun, before you go out of the house, you need to cover yourself with clothing. So what does that mean? Someone needs to design that garment. Someone needs to make it. Someone needs to sell it. So if we understand the entire value chain of the clothing and textile sector, we can overcome poverty in this country and unemployment.
Yes. Okay, we do need to go to the news, but when we come back, we're going to continue with our upside of failure with the Minister of Fashion. It's 2:30. The upside of failure, 22 minutes to 3 o'clock with fashion designer extraordinaire David Tlale, or as I have just named him today, Minister of Fashion.
Imagine.
And it comes with Minister of Fashion. Please tell me the story of the all black, because the way I was so excited, really, like David is confirmed, and then I had to be like, okay, I'm slipper daying, right? Because it's slipper day.
Yes.
But I'm like,
but you gotta arrive in black.
I gotta arrive in black,
yes,
because I know what David Tlale's MO is, and I need the photos to be photoing. When did you decide to lock into black, which, by the way, is my favorite color? My team regularly complains that like you need more color.
I think it's over now, 14 years now since it started. I mean, I used to wear color for so many years, and it started becoming monochrome, where I was just doing just black and white.
No, but was that like an intentional, okay, I'm just going to start wearing black, or
it
just
happened? It like literally, I found myself not appreciating color on me, any other bright color. It was just like, this is too bright. It's just like not working. And then slowly just gravitated towards, like literally, like I said, white shirts, black and white tops and whatever. And then it's like slowly like becoming like darker and darker. And then it just started making sense for me. And also, I don't have to think five times or even 5,000 times, what am I wearing today or where am I going? And it's just like so beautiful. And people are like, do you wear the same clothes? I'm like, I don't. I have so much texture of black. I've got from chiffons, brocades, tweeds, black on
And
black
you love
texture.
layering.
I do love layering.
Yeah.
I love mixing my textures. So yeah, it's a simple journey, you know?
I think it's just such an easy thing to maintain, but also you have done what most successful and super wealthy people do, which is limit the decisions they need to make in a
It's
day.
like uniform.
Yes.
You know, when you go to work, you wear uniform. As a doctor, you know what you need to be wearing. When you go to school, you need to wear the
Yes.
uniform. And up to a point, I understand there's a psychology behind clothing. When you go to school in a particular uniform, you get to focus and everything else. Unlike when you are dressed to the nines, your performance level becomes lower because you're conscious, your white shirt or your pink. You know, all those things, they play a major role. So, yeah.
Talk to me about your relationship with Mama and what her loss, how it impacted your life, especially because time almost means nothing with grief. In the sense that it can be 30 years that have passed and it can feel like somebody just broke the news to you now.
Yeah. I think the worst thing to happen in life is losing your mom, losing my mom, or even your loved one. It's something that never prepares you. And it's not like it next 5 10s, let's start again. It's there, it's done, you have to deal with it. To a point whereby through the first 4.5 years of me losing my mom, I was in denial. I was not accepting. And I was like, God, what is happening? And low-key being angry at God and low-key angry on life and everything else to like, how could you take the only parent figure I have or even know of in my life? And I was trying to avoid this question when you sent the questions that what you wanted.
Yeah.
But it's here now. Grief is the most painful thing that one can go through. When I lost my mom, I didn't realize what I was dealing with. And the relationship that I had with my mom was beyond deep. And I think any child would do that. And as you put on the mask of work, busy, building a global brand, face, and everything else, when you get home, the mask goes off, the void kicks in, the emptiness kicks in to like, this person is no longer here. That phone call I'm not going to be able to make. When chips are down, who do I talk to? Because I would call my mom and be like, hey, ma, get bed. I'd be like, masthandaza mntanam, or kuzolunga mntanam. Bekezela mntanam, kuzolunga. So all those things, you don't hear them. You can only bank on the memory and play that voice in your head and just like comfort yourself. People are like, okay, you can always go to God and pray. Yes, that no problem. That's standard. That's a daily lifestyle. But there is this human connection that you've lost. That, you know, the umbilical cord, when it's cut, it's like now this is another umbilical cord that's gone. So grief is horrible, guys. It's horrible.
And your mom was the cutest. And she gave me such warm hugs
She
the
did.
times that I met her. Because there's something about Mama Barona that she reminded me very much of my own grandmother. Like there's a humility that they walk around with.
Of course.
She's at her son's like extravagant fashion show. You had dressed her and she was just so adorable.
Always.
But she was just, I don't even have the words in terms of the grief parts. And maybe the reason I like to hear from people how they're coping with grief is I'm still trying to figure out how to cope with my own.
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, and you mentioning, you know, the only parent figure that you've known, having been raised by a single mother, as a young boy, how did it impact you not having the two-parent household, not having the papa?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I'm a mom to a little boy. I'm so mindful of the impact of all those things that I will never know or understand.
Yeah. It was very difficult, but my mom had, like every mom will do. She'll be a mom and she'll try to be a dad as well. And then try to expose you to, other father figures around from church, the community, to say my son must not feel the void. But it does happen. But because of the amount of love that she gave to all of us, and I think moms do that. They've got this special anointing. It's a mantle that God gives and grants mothers to do, to say, I'm going to try to shield my son and I'm going to shower him or even my daughter with love, peace, and protection as much as I can. And that's why when a mom departs from you, you can feel it. Because the person that carried the mantle of love or protection around you here on earth is gone. Now you realize I'm all by myself now. Yes, even if the other mothers around from church, in the neighborhood, it's not the same. And they will tell you, I love you. Like, yeah, I hear you, but
But there's also something that mothers, there's something mothers know about their children without us telling them. So they
know everything.
They will know. They
Yeah.
will not know. They will know when the mosque is on. They will know all of those things.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter how close your friends are to you.
Absolutely.
There is something where my mom will be like, yeah, I can feel you're not okay.
Exactly. My mom would be like, get me, while she was around, she'd be like, get me a car, I'm coming to you to see you. And then I think the last episode was, she walked in, she's like, you're going to be fine. You're going to rise like a phoenix. And as if she knew that those were like her last days. Like shortly after that, like 2-3 months later, she was gone after she uttered those words. She came to my office. She realized the struggles that we were going through as a business. She's like, my son, you're not even coming home. I'm coming to you. And then she could walk in and hug everyone in my office and everything else. And she's like, come, let me talk to you. She'd be like, you're going to be okay. God is with you. And you're going to rise and you're going to be okay. I was like, what are you talking about? Because I haven't spoken to you. She's like, I know what's going on.
Do you remember what the last words were that she said to you or that you said to her?
It was a Friday night. I was with friends of mine at my house. We're having dinner. And she never calls me after 9 p.m. or anything. We usually speak between 7 and 8 or whatever. But this particular Friday night, she was like, I'm just checking on you, my son. Are you okay? Just know that I love you. I'll see you on Sunday because we're having a family lunch. And that was it. Sunday, get this call, mom has collapsed. And there was no collapse. She was already gone.
Yo.
She just slept and never woke up. But anyway, we're here.
Yes, may Mama Joyce's soul rest in peace. When we come back, I see your questions. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. 9 minutes to 3 o'clock, the upside of failure. And we are chatting to David Tlale extraordinaire. Mama Joyce. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. I want to go straight to all of your messages that are coming through. One says, Relebogile and David Tlale, thank you for such a super fascinating interview. You both are actualized in many ways, and the nation is inspired and learning from you both. We're talking about education here in different ways. Keep up the good work and be strengthened. Another one says, I lost the message now. Lebo and your team, a very good afternoon, a beautiful afternoon to our Minister of Style, Grace and Fashion. Yes, that's the one we are taking. I've never met a human being with so much respect, integrity, kindness, compassion. All I can say is I have a drink for him, and it's called I Have a Crush on... What? On you? Where can I bring? Yeah. We thank him for blessing us with his presence. Another one says, you are both making me cry. My wound is still so fresh at times, and I'm still in disbelief. I lost my mother in March.
Oh, wow.
I'm so
painful.
sorry for your loss.
Wow.
Very, very sorry.
Sorry, love. Sorry.
I'm going to quickly go to the lines. If you can grab your headphones, we've got Tasneem in Randburg. Tasneem, hi, go ahead.
Hi, what a lovely interview, David. Thank you for being so honest and open and vulnerable to about your feelings. I can really resonate with what you're saying, and I was super close to my dad, and he passed away in 2019, and also in his sleep. And my mom's still alive, and as big as I am, every day I go in her room just to check she's alive. I know it sounds insane, but I do that. And
Mhm.
sometimes I wake her up and I feel so bad about it. But my mom knows. I've been very honest with her to say, I'm sorry I do that. I just want to see you alive. Like, it's
Sure.
just like, but the other thing that helped me through this very difficult time, so in Islam, I follow the faith of Islam. There's a prayer that immediately when you hear a loss, you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilahi rajiun, meaning to God we belong and to Him we shall return. And before my dad passing away, it was just something you said. But when he passed away, and when I said those words, it was so profound. It literally gave a whole new meaning and
Mm,
understanding.
mm.
And that is something that sort of carried me through. But in saying that, I feel like my dad betrayed me because we were so close. But
Oh, you
yeah,
know why I'm happy you said that, Tasneem, because those are feelings that people won't be able to openly articulate. That,
Absolutely.
like, you're also angry at the person for going, and we know that that emotional journey will bring up all types of feelings. Tasneem, thank you so much for your call. More of the messages. Anonymous in Kempton Park says, I thought I was strict with my interns. However, when I watched the SABC3 fashion training show years back, yo, David Tlale, high corner, and another
I
one.
always say to people, when you come for internship, we're not training you to be a designer. We train you to be principled because people are talented, but people are not principled.
Yeah. Relebogile, please ask David what advice would he give to parents of an 11-year-old who loves fashion in relation to nurturing and developing the talent of that child.
Allow the child to be a creative, but focus on his or her education currently and allow the child to watch creative shows, allow the child to experience and watch whatever designers are doing or even the clothing textile industry. Please don't say, stop doing this, because that child may be a creative director from the house of David Tlale in a
Ow!
few years.
And expose them to nature because as
Absolutely.
creatives, we get inspiration from anything and
Anything in life.
everything.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. There's a voice note on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile and David. It's Kieran from Benoni. I just cannot believe that you just spoke straight to my soul and you explained exactly how I feel with regards to my business. I've been in for 26 years and I still wake up every day with that fear. So thank you for putting my mind at ease that we're not alone in this journey. Bless you.
We are in it together. It may not look like it, but
Exactly.
those realities are real. You have created an empire that continues to grow. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned about failure?
The biggest lesson I've learned about, I don't say it's failure. The biggest lessons I've learned about lessons, it is because you have to go through something and you have to decide whether you're going to see it as a failure or as a learning curve. And those situations, they help you develop your shock absorbers. They help you develop your six pack in terms of business. And it's just like going to gym and working out on a daily basis. You have to go through that to have a six pack. It's not easy. You can't just like wake up and have it. You gotta work on it. And you gotta discipline yourself. I'm not gonna eat this, I'm gonna drink this, I'm gonna do that because why? I have a goal. So as you go into business, you're gonna fall, you're gonna trip. The question is, are you going to stay down or you're going to wake up and do it again? And I always say to young people that come for their internship program, whatever, give your business one more day every day. Because that day when you decide you're giving up may be the day for your breakthrough. Those days, I go through them every day, like, I can't do this anymore. I literally want to stop. And then I'm stopping, then for what? I have to wake up. Let me try again tomorrow. And immediately I do that. I get that phone call. Come, I want you to do this for me. Because at that moment, the chips are down. things are like just not working out. But guess what? When you wake up and try one more time, and also beyond anything else, I always say to tell people, it doesn't matter what you say, but I'm telling you my story. If it was not of the grace of God in my life, I wouldn't be where I am today. If it was not me trusting and believing that His mercies are new every morning, I wouldn't be who I am today. And believing and trusting in God gives you strength on a daily basis, and you're able to face whatever challenge you come across in life.
Ke a leboga, David, so much. Thank you, just from me personally, but also on behalf of all of us that continue to admire your work. Please
Thank
keep
you.
inspiring. Follow David on the socials. He's got an academy, he's got a foundation, he's got a collection coming out as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You didn't finish our interview, but I love you.
702.
The upside of failure.
Proof that a setback can lead to a step forward.